Hi, welcome to episode 2. I'm Tammy. Let's talk about how to maximize space in a small home. How do we keep an open, airy, light feeling in an 800 square foot apartment and still use every inch of space? We have 0 closets, 0 in the whole place. Today's episode is about this room. We will be hacking Ikea, we will be making a gallery wall, and we will show how each item in this room works really hard at space saving. It is 13 feet wide by 17.5 feet long, and only windows on the north facing wall where the balcony is. That's it. This room has to function as our living room, dining room, craft room, office, and guest room, as probably most of you have a similar situation doing multitasking in your only big room. How did we even start when we moved in? Well, we started with the wall color. We chose a nice warm white. It's similar to Simply White by Benjamin Moore. And we wrapped it everywhere on all the walls and the ceiling, and also the trim, so your eye isn't focused on any contrasting trim color. We just wanted it to disappear, and this color works really well with our furniture, even our wood furniture, and all of the colorful art and things that we have in this room. We decided to emphasize the window wall and the wall opposite the window and minimize the 2 side walls. If you have lots of stuff on every single wall, your eye doesn't know where to rest and it feels busy and your eye is jumping around. So we did that really intentionally. The 2 side walls have 1 piece of good size art each, and that's it. I keep fighting. No more art on those walls. That's it. Not all of our art is on the walls. We have more. We just hide it. So we have to find creative places to hide art and photos and things in this apartment. So behind furniture, it's like a treasure hunt, really. Then after the walls, we decided that the windows do not need curtains. We don't need them for shade. We have the outdoor shades that are pretty standard here in Milan, and they would just take up too much space in the room, and we said, nope, we don't need those. So let's go around the room clockwise. First, the curtains to the hallway. I made these. They are hung as high as possible, and they provide really needed privacy for overnight guests. Next, the twin consoles on the left of the room. They provide several functions. First, they provide a really nice long countertop to work on. Second, the closed storage inside is all for messy stuff. That's a lot of hardworking storage right there. And we do hide some of our art behind them. We just pulled the consoles about 3 or 4 inches off from the wall. And they hold on top our most giant art books that are really heavy and don't fit in the bookcases. Moving around the wall, we will come back to this Billy. That lidded basket underneath the windows, that holds all of my art supplies. I think it was originally a blanket or laundry kind of basket from probably Home Goods, gotta say. And yep, it's really full. The sofa that came with the apartment turns into a double bed for guests, and the gray color is a good neutral that really plays well with the wood furniture in here and the colorful art and everything. The only thing that I would change is I would love for that chaise extension to be separate. When you're trying to maximize how many people you get in this room, you know, someone has to like wedge back into the corner. It actually seats less people than you think it does. If that chaise extension was separate as an ottoman, that would maximize even more. The Ikea Liatorp console is hiding back there behind the sofa. It's narrow, it has a glass top to hide yet display all the tiny, small, collectible-y stuff, and equally importantly, it has a lower shelf to store things up off the floor. They still sell that. I'll put a link down below. In front of the sofa is the wicker poof that I brought from Texas. Yeah, it's that good. I brought it with me. I bought that at Home Goods. It's seating, it's a tiny table, and yes, it's also pet friendly. Cats cannot destroy that thing with their claws, trust me. It could only be better if it had storage in it. Now, behind the sofa on the right, you see a piece of vintage luggage. This is just one piece of many that we have here. They hold all the Christmas stuff. And in the past, I've also stacked these to make end tables, nightstands. I have smaller ones that I use for desk accessories and cosmetics, whatever. They're so versatile, they're awesome. The antique desk is all closed storage for office supplies, etc. Very useful, and it's pretty narrow from front to back. Very important with drawers. Drawers are so important for office stuff. Ignore the Billies on the right, we'll come back to those. And last but definitely not least, the importance of a round dining table. The round shape takes up much less space, and you can seat up to 6 people at this thing. So definitely consider a round dining table for your space. Now we can talk about the Billies and their saga here in our home. When we first moved in, we knew we wanted to emphasize this window wall because that's the view. Let's put the focus over there and everyone look there. And it was unbalanced because of the radiator on the right, on the bottom, and my favorite yet least favorite thing, the air conditioner on the top right. How do we take focus away from those two things? So we looked at Ikea. Ikea is here in Milan, and we said, oh look, that Billy fits perfectly. And we can add 2 extensions on the top, and it's the same height as the door. Perfect, balanced. Who could ask for more? Well, our timing was our rookie mistake, among other things. We put this in almost as soon as we moved in, and we crammed it full of books, as many as we needed, and it was most of our books. So we said, okay, good solution. Well, fast forward to a year later, and there was so much stuff in those shelves that the shelves themselves were already starting to bend in the center. That is a flaw with these Ikea Billies at this width. They don't have enough support in the center. So over time, that's gonna happen, and you should know that. We have very heavy art books, so we said, oh no, now what do we do? When we realized that the original Ikea Billy bookcase wasn't going to fill the function that we desperately needed it to in this room, we had been living here for about 1.5 years, which I recommend waiting that long anyway. We made the original Billy much too soon before we knew how we used the space, so wait. At this point, an Italian saying really comes into play here. Io conosco I miei polli. It means, I know my chickens. Loosely translated, that means I know this person or these people, and I know what they're likely to do. That, in this case, it means us. I knew that we get more books all the time. People will give us a couple, we'll thrift a couple. So we needed a solution that would be expandable into the future. I also knew that the wall behind us is where we wanted to focus our attention. That's the wall opposite the windows, and possibly the corner. So, of course, we went back to Ikea. But looking at the Ikea website, you'll notice that the Billy corner units that they sell are at a 45-degree angle. And they really intrude into your space more than the space that we had available to us. So we wanted it to be a clean 90-degree corner, and Ikea, please make those. It would be amazing. Everyone would love it. So we knew we would have to hack that and make it ourselves and make it look like one unit. So we started with just 2 pieces. It has expanded to 3, and I've just learned it will be expanding to 4 units in the future. And we have the more narrow ones, so the shelves won't bend. I highly recommend these. If you have heavy books, if you have a lot of books, if you're prone to overloading your shelves and need every square inch, get the narrower ones. They're also cheaper, so I recommend that, and enjoy this hack. Finally, these are in stock in one location. I'm shocked. Billy, you need to behave, boy. We just opened the box and you already broke one of my nails. Yeah, not having that. Billy and I came to an agreement. No more nails were broken. Good job, Billy. Good boy. Not only will we be using the stud finder to hopefully find a space where we can secure these 2 Billies, but we will also need to be leveling them left to right and front to back, because if we don't, you can see, look, there's more space between the 2 bookcases at the top than there is at the bottom. And that needs to be an even space as much as possible, since we're going to be covering that space with our quarter. I'm not sure what you call this, press board maybe? It's very thin. We're going to paint it white to match the bookcase in case anyone sees it. Here's what it's called in Italian. Let's see. Oh, it's MDF. Ah, there you go. We've got MDF that we're gonna paint white, and we'll use the brackets to attach to the MDF and to attach to our 2 bookcases way at the top when we put the 2 top editions on, to protect from all the dust that will definitely go back there. We've got quarter round molding that we will be putting here. We will be painting, priming, and putting it here to make it look like built-in. We've got spackle to cover the seams. This is in Italian. Yes, you can see that's spackle. We have primer for PVC and laminate, because that's what Ikea is, yes. And then we have white paint, satin finish for our bookcases. And we'll see how that goes. And at Leroy Merlin, they will happily cut this for you. They will cut any wood, MDF, glass, whatever you need, and they do a great job. Just make sure you go with your measurements and let them know what you need. So we'll be using these 1, 2, 3, and this little piece, so we'll save this for future. We're going to be attaching not 1, but 2 top sections to each of our 2 Billies, total 4 top editions. So it is crucial that we anchor these to the walls. That's the scariest part in these plaster walls. So the next step is to stud find and cross your fingers. Today we're going to pre-paint the trim pieces, the quarter rounds for the Billy bookcase, and we're going to slap a coat of paint quickly on that corner piece that goes way on top in the back, just in case somebody sees it. Got one quick coat on the inside edges of the trim and one quick coat on the top corner panel. And now the trim pieces are dry. Yay! Almost forgot. These corner trim pieces need to be sanded, especially the ends where I got paint on them. But if they're too lumpy, and my paint sometimes is lumpy, they won't join together properly. So we're going to sand them before bringing them in the house. From experience, do not get these foam blocks for sanding. I've done literally one little corner, black grit everywhere, and half of it is worn off of the block. They're really stupid. I need real sandpaper. So half the battle here was getting these two Billies lined up in relation to each other at the corner. I would recommend to anyone trying to do this, get yourself 2, 3, 4 angle brackets and hit them at the back and attach them to each other before you even start. That way you don't have to worry like I did about jiggling them around. The bottom wants to jiggle, you know, because I've got a smooth floor. You know, the left one, it still wants to move on the bottom. Great. Even though I have 2 angle brackets on each into the plaster, highly satisfied with that actually. Now you can see the Billies with just one riser on there so far. If you look closely at the corners, you can see that they're closer together. As much as they're evenly spaced down below, the risers are getting closer together. Awesome, love that. You can also see the seam, the horizontal seam below each riser where we're gonna have to spackle later. We did use the connector screws from Ikea. Very important connector screws from Ikea to connect one with another to hold them together. They sell, this comes as part of the set when you buy like a whole wall of Ikea, but if you're buying them individually, they don't sell them separately. So you have to go to the desk and ask for these. They're very important. You can see we've got one here connecting these two so they stay nice and tight. And there's another one on the bottom level. Well, we have one of the extensions on and attached, and you can see, I don't know if you can see, it doesn't match exactly to its neighbor. It's going to the back a little bit at the top and it's going apart a little bit. So when we use the anchor bracket to anchor it to the wall, we can kind of scooch it over so it matches more. And if it doesn't match enough, then we'll have to use one of the connector screws to really attach it to its neighbor so it sits nice and flush. Okay, the top one is on, and we definitely need to add a connector screw at the top because this last one is not sitting flush with this one. And I forgot to tell you that when you do this, these holes on the insides of the Billy, they don't go all the way through. So we need to drill to do that. And the drill bit needs to be as wide as this. Not sure what size that is. We'll have to figure that out together. I am now putting the trim in the corner, the trim piece, the quarter round. And I'm using 1-inch trim nails, and I'm going to use this pin punch as a nail set to just poke them in without me hitting all the trim and damaging it with the hammer. I am adding some glue to the inside edges of the trim before I put it on and nail it, just to help hold it better to the Billy. So I just hit it, not too much. I don't want it squeezing out, just enough to kind of give it a light bond to the Billy on both sides, all the way down. Okay, the last piece of trim just went up. The little finishing nails have been countersunk, and I will be now filling the holes and covering the trim nails, as you can see in the one below it. For styling these billies, since all of the books are so colorful, we have a colorful assortment of everything in there, that we kept the art objects and pictures, photos, sketches, everything neutral, black and white photos, black and white sketches, and dark wood neutral three-dimensional objects on top, just to kind of quiet it down a little bit, but still bring some, you know, contrast. We don't want everything white and disappearing into the face of the bookcase. I'm not tall enough to see it all. Gallery wall, step 1. Choose all your art, put it all on the floor, take some away, move it around, agree with your partner, and then you can start. Otherwise your wall will be full of holes. Now we started with the center piece of art that we wanted and built out from there. And also with the biggest piece of art is the top one. So we built out from there. The gallery wall behind me that you'll see in just a second, after we laid out all the art on the floor and determined where we wanted everything to be, we made a paper pattern of each piece of art using craft paper. We used the Mala craft paper from Ikea. It's really cheap. I think it's €6 here in Italy, but you can use old paper bags, you can use wrapping paper, whatever you need to use. We determined the location on each one and marked it of where the nails would go. And we attached each one to the wall using blue painter's tape only. And by doing that, we were able to see that, yeah, we needed to move some around. And it saved us a lot of nail holes in the wall by doing that. So we made sure to do that step first. Don't skip that step, whatever you do, because you'll have a lot of holes in your wall. And this is our gallery wall. You're seeing it from this angle because every other single angle has a reflection from the balcony, and no one wants that. We want to see it at a good angle without reflection. So you can see it looks different than it did on the floor. We realized when we started putting it up on the wall that any lower pictures would interfere with the table. The dining table is right there. So when you stood up, you'd be knocking into the pictures. So we moved a couple things around. And right here behind me, you'll see this is where the next Billy is going to go, and the lamp will scooch over closer to the gallery wall.